Part 37. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 361. Chapter 361. Everyone scolded. I agree, there is no need to hesitate. I have no objection, Li was very eager. Butler Zhu laughed and said, Old madam, would you like to inform Miss Swayan's biological father? There is also a letter here, written by a wealthy young man to his father. Li was very hesitant. It was Mrs. Zhou who stepped forward to persuade her, Auntie, can you take Butler Zhu to the workshop and ask? Li thought for a while and nodded in agreement. The group of people arrived at the workshop, and Mrs. Li walked up to Yang Laoer under the gaze of everyone, her face tense. Yang Laoer quickly stood up and called flatteringly, Auntie. Bai Yuniang also stood up and saluted Mr. Li. Ms. Li didn't even look at her, she just stared at Yang Laoer, breathing a sigh of relief with a serious look on her face. When Arya has reached her age, someone came to propose marriage. I agree to the marriage, what about you? Yang Laoer's face was filled with joy and his eyes were a little brighter. This is a good thing. The person I am looking for must be the right one. Li's mouth twitched, she looked at him deeply, and continued, but the other party has a higher family status. If it weren't for the elder's family, this marriage would definitely not fall on the second girl. Yang Laoer's smile froze, he nodded and slowly lowered his head. Seeing him like that, Mrs. Li felt very uncomfortable. She turned away and said, Second brother, don't blame grandma for speaking harshly. Back then, you insisted on marrying Mr. Qian and gave birth to such an incomprehensible biological mother for your 3 children. Qian selling himself into slavery is enough to ruin the future of 3 children. Yang Dia was on the side, her eyes turned red instantly when she heard these words, and the unknown anger in her heart burned again. Yang Laoer felt more and more guilty and nodded repeatedly, Auntie, I know, it's us who can't bear the child. Li lowered her eyes, now there is a good marriage in front of Arya, and I absolutely don't want her to miss it, but Arya has been afraid to nod because of the stupid things you and Qian did for fear of affecting each other. The letter said that she is willing to put Arya in her name, do you agree? Yang Laoer suddenly raised his head, eyes widening in disbelief. Yang Dia was also shocked and couldn't help but ask, Grandma, Auntie really said that? Is she really willing to adopt Arya under her name? Li Shi nodded. Butler Zhu echoed from the side, my lady said it herself, and I even revised a letter to the old lady. There is no way it can be false. Yang Dia was even more frightened and asked again, what's the situation with the man? She really couldn't figure out what kind of family would make the auntie do such a good job. Not only Yang Dia, but also other villagers were shocked. They thought that when Yang Jiang's 2 daughters-in-law were fighting fiercely, they didn't even deal with their children. The 2 families acted as if they had sworn hatred. Although later on Mrs. Yang Jiang suddenly realized that she had changed her ways, but she was only interested in face with her second wife. All the help was for Li's sake, and now she is willing to take the second wife's child into the first bedroom. From now on, Yang Arya will become a young lady from a wealthy family. This identity change is not ordinary. Butler Zhu smiled faintly and replied respectfully, the man's surname is Liang. The man who wants to marry Miss Swayan is Mr. Liang. He has already achieved the title of childbirth. His father is the head of the Fukan construction department and a court official. The Liang family is not considered a wealthy family. But he is also from a scholarly family, a well-off family, and he calls his slaves and maids. Yang Dia covered her chest that was about to jump out and cried with joy, okay. Okay. Of course my father will not object to such a good marriage. We agree to adopt Arya into the name of the eldest uncle. Er side whispered, if Arya is adopted by the eldest brother, won't she have nothing to do with our second brother in the future? Yang Laoer frowned subconsciously. Hearing this, Mrs. Li glared at Bai Yuniang angrily, Little whore. Do you have the right to speak here? Bai Yuniang bit her lip reluctantly and lowered her head. Everyone looked at Yang Lao'er. Yang Lao'er looked embarrassed and hesitant. Anyang, I only have 3 children. Although Arya is a girl, I raised her with all the hard work. Ba, Dad, are you sorry for saying this? Yes, when Anyang was still alive, you were the one who earned the money to support us, but Arya and I did all the work at home, and we didn't freeload. Later on, you were injured, and the job of supporting the family fell to the 3 of us. If you want to support us, we should support you more. Yang Dia unceremoniously exposed Yang Lao'er's shortcomings in front of all the villagers. And this woman from Gulan courtyard, because of her, you almost pushed Arya into a pit of fire. Now that Arya finally got a good marriage, do you still want to stop her? Yang Dia's words hurt her heart and lungs. He scolded Yang Lao'er until his face turned blue and white. Daddy, that's not what I meant. I just... Yang Lao'er hesitated, but couldn't come up with a high-sounding reason. Yang Dia became even more angry and roared, I'm telling you, if you ruin Arya's marriage, our sisters will definitely hate you to death in the future. Yang Lao'er's pupils shrank and he was so angry that he almost couldn't stand still. Is this how you talk to your father? Yang Dia snorted coldly and turned away without showing any signs of weakness. Steward Zhu looked at this, then at that, and took out a letter from the bag. This is what the wealthy young master asked me to deliver to his father. When he heard that it was a letter from his son, Yang Lao'er was all attracted to the letter and couldn't wait to take it. When he opened it, he found that he couldn't understand it at all. He was very embarrassed and had to bite the bullet and let Butler Zhu read it to him. There are only a few words in the letter. The general meaning is that Yang Fugui agrees to Yang Arya's adoption into the big house. If Yang Lao'er objects, he will never interfere with the family affairs again in his life, and he will not recognize Yang Lao'er as his biological father. Steward Zhu finished his belief and all the villagers fell silent. Li didn't expect her grandson to write such a heartless letter, so she repeatedly confirmed, Steward Zhu, is this letter really written by Fugui? Butler Zhu nodded, it's absolutely true. Mr. Fugui went to Fukan to learn some calligraphy, but because he was busy, he never practiced his calligraphy properly, so his writing was not very good. Madam, please take a look. Li took it and compared it with Zhang Ning's letter. It was clear that it was written by a person who had just become enlightened. He took the letter, turned to face the lost Yang Lao'er and scolded him, look how useless you are. If it weren't for this little whore, the 3 children would still respect you and miss you. Now it's okay, the 3 children they have all separated from you, and now it is just separation. If you continue to affect their future, they will definitely hate you in the future. Ms. Lu also came over to persuade, Yang Do. It's not that auntie is partial to anyone, we all understand this. Arya's background is really not the same as the man's. You want to point your daughter to a high branch and follow him in the future, you have to be capable. Tell me, how can you arrange a decent dowry for Arya without the big house? If Arya is wronged at her husband's house, can you support her? Or can you give her a face? To put it bluntly, you really can't help her at all, you will only drag her down. You and Qian have done a lot of things that are sorry for the child. The child finally has a good marriage, but you can't ruin it again. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 362. Chapter 362 Adopted. The more Mr. Lu talked about Yang Lao'er, the paler his face turned. Many people took turns to reason with Yang Lao'er, while Yang Dia helped the furious Li to sit aside. Grandma, we really owe our uncle this time, with a family like that, how can we give Arya a suitable dowry? In such a short time, she had already thought about many things, including what kind of trouble her sister might encounter in the future. Mrs. Li patted the back of her hand comfortingly, don't worry, Grandma is still here, and she will definitely not let this matter go wrong. If it doesn't work, I will go to Fukan in person to find your aunt and lend her some money. Arya holds onto the situation and will take it easy in the future. Mr. Joe on the side wrung her hands and gritted her teeth and said, Anayang, if it doesn't work out, I'll give Arya the yard in Xinghua village, Fukan, as a dowry. Li and Yang Dia both looked at Joe in disbelief. Third aunt, you can't do it, Yang Dia quickly declined. She knew that the Zhou family paid for the courtyard, which was originally reserved for Yang Legui. Mr. Zhou laughed twice and said, we are all one family. Arya is marrying well. As an aunt, I am not happy about it either. Even though her heart was bleeding, in order to restore her parents-in-law's impression of her, she had no choice but to spend a lot of money. Ms. Li looked away and nodded slightly, your third aunt is right. If Arya marries well, she will be able to help her brothers and sisters in the future. What's more, Mr. Liang is still working in the government office, so he must know more than others. Zhou instantly felt that her heart didn't hurt so much, and she also advised, Anayang is right, ya, please stop refusing. With Zhou's words, Li also gained some confidence, rushed to Yang Lao and asked loudly, the third Lao's family has already said that they want to give Arya the courtyard in Fukan as a dowry, just say it. What can you come up with? Bai Yuniang was shocked. At this moment, she didn't care about being poked in the head and scolded by Mrs. Li, and she eagerly defended, we are so poor, how can we give such a dowry? How dare you worry about Arya's betrothal gift without a dowry, you're out of your mind, aren't you? Mrs. Li sternly raised her eyebrows and scolded her. One sentence pierced Bai Yuniang's dark heart. She immediately shrank her neck like a quail and didn't dare to say anything. Yang Lao raised his head and scanned everyone's faces one by one. He saw that no one was on his side. The only one who had the same idea as him was Bai Yuniang, who was for Arya's betrothal gift. His heart instantly sank to the bottom, and he slowly closed his tired eyes and said numbly, okay. I agree to adopt Arya to the big house. Li wanted to scold him again, but when he heard this, he immediately beamed with joy, and hurriedly told Yang Dia, hurry up and find the village chief, open the ancestral hall and start the genealogy now. Mrs. Lu hurriedly said, leave this matter to me and I will take care of it. With the participation of the Lu family and the presence of the literate housekeeper Zhu, the genealogy revision was very smooth. After the matter was settled, Butler Zhu and Mrs. Li bid farewell. Ms. Li thought for a while and said, Butler Zhu, remember to inform us when Arya's wedding date is set. We also want to go and see it. Butler Zhu nodded clearly, don't worry, madam, she will send someone to pick you up when the time comes. When Old Man Yang and Yang Lao-san received the news and rushed back to the village, Butler Zhu had already left. Old Man Yang could only ask about Yang Arya's adoption from the mouths of Mr. Li and Mr. Zhou. Yang Lao-san sighed, I didn't expect my sister-in-law to be so open-minded and willing to adopt Arya. Old Man Yang nodded. At this moment, he suddenly understood why the old man's family could live such a good life. He thought about it and said to Yang Lao-san, although your mother-in-law said that she would give Arya the house in Fukan as a dowry, but such a large amount of money is not a small amount for our farm family. Besides, you have to go to school. It's not enough for the whole family. I will return this money to you later, so there is no need to tell anyone. In other words, the yard is still said to be the dowry given by Sanfang to Yang Arya. Sanfang had gained fame without losing anything. Zhou was so happy that he couldn't hold back the corners of his mouth. Because of her magical operation, Mrs. Li became really kind to her. Steward Zhu returned to Fukan and immediately went to see Jiangning. Madam, Miss Suiyan's biological father is really a selfish villain. If not for everyone's persuasion and the letter from the rich young master, I'm afraid he would still be unwilling to nod. The village chief has already adopted Miss Suiyan in your name. This is a letter dictated by the village chief and the old lady, and written by Xiao Xiao. Zhang Ning took the letter and read it carefully, then raised the corner of his mouth slightly. In that case, Arya will be the eldest daughter of our family from now on. Go to the Liang family in person, tell Mr. Liang the news, and ask them to come to your door on a day. Propose marriage. Butler Zhu naturally would not let others do it for him to announce the good news, so he went there himself. Mrs. Liang Yuan from the Liang family was not very enthusiastic about the arrival of Butler Zhu, so she only asked people to find Liang Hongchang back. Steward Zhu didn't care either. He watched his eyes, nose, and heart, and waited silently. Liang Hongchang came back in a hurry. As soon as he entered the door, he raised his hand to Butler Zhu. Butler Zhu, did the Marquis give the letter of approval? Yuan Shi followed him and looked over, his face not showing much joy. Butler Zhu smiled respectfully and said, Master Ho ordered me to go to my hometown and told the elders in the family about this. In addition, Master Ho said that Mr. Liang sincerely proposed to marry me, so the elders in the family naturally had no reason to refuse. In addition, the Marquis said that she watched Miss Suian grow up and kept her by her side for a period of time. She also had feelings for him. The Marquis did not want Miss Suian's biological father and mother to affect Mr. Liang's future. So he persuaded the elders in the clan to adopt Miss Suian into the name of the Marquis. From now on, Miss Suian is the eldest lady of our Guanzhenhou mansion and has nothing to do with the second wife of the Yang family in Rongsha village. The affairs of the second wife will not affect her, and naturally they will not affect Mr. Liang. The Marquis has really adopted Miss Suian. Yuan jumped up from her chair, her expression a little dull and a little surprised. Liang Hongchang was also extremely shocked. Butler Zhu, Lord Marquis. This is. He had been tortured by his son before and had resigned himself to his fate. He never thought about the reversal of the matter. There was a world of difference between an ordinary farm girl from a poor family and many problems and the eldest daughter of the Marquis of Guang'an. His son is marrying a golden phoenix. Butler Zhu nodded with a smile and said sincerely, Master Liang, Miss Suian is cousins with several young ladies in the Ho family. They are passed down the same line. If the couple from the second house hadn't gone too far, Mr. Ho would not have broken up with them kissed. Fortunately, the children in the second room are all good, and the Marquis has clear grievances and will not spread the bad blood between adults to the children. In addition, Miss Suian has a good temperament, is smart, strong, and has excellent character. I also hope that Miss Suian will be good in the future. Have a good time. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fensti. Chapter 363. Chapter 363. Two scholars. Liang Hongchang understood it immediately and repeatedly assured, this is natural. My wife and I are both enlightened people. When we knew Miss Suian's life experience, we still agreed to this marriage. We will definitely not change our minds after Miss Suian gets married. Mrs. Yuan came back to her senses and nodded with a sarcastic smile, Master is absolutely right. Our Liang family has a clean family and we cannot do that kind of harsh treatment of our daughter-in-law. In order for Xiaoqian to study peacefully, we have decided to build a small courtyard next to Kuzhu Academy for the young couple to live. In the future, Suian will come over and she will not have to wait around us. She and Xiaoqian can live there. With what Yuan said, Butler Zhu could finally go back and reply. Before leaving, Mrs. Yuan also asked someone to give Butler Zhu 2 taels of silver. As soon as Butler Zhu left, Liang Hongchang looked at Yuan in confusion. Why didn't I know that our family was going to buy a house next to Kuzhu Academy? When did it happen? Also, didn't you disapprove of this marriage before? Originally, the old couple were quite happy when their son proposed to them that he wanted to marry Guang Yinho's niece. They kept praising their son for his vision. The Yuan family immediately sent someone to check Yang area's situation. It would have been better not to investigate, but once she did, Yuan almost collapsed. She called her son over angrily and refused to agree, saying that Yang area would delay her son's future. How did you know that your son was so obsessed that he wanted to marry anyone and even said he didn't want to go to school anymore? Regardless of whether the child has the talent to become an official or not, he cannot give up at this time. There are always good opportunities at home every day, and we can't even live in peace during the new year. The couple was so frustrated that they had no choice but to obey their child's wishes. However, the old wife became ill because of this and no one was smiling. The son was afraid of getting into trouble and did not dare to come back during this period. Mrsun's face was rosy and she was in a happy mood. She sat down lazily and rolled her eyes angrily. Don't you know why I opposed this marriage before? Now Miss Swayan has adopted the name of Guang'an. Why am I objecting? The Marquis of Guang'an only has a biological daughter, and that girl will be married to the nobles in the future. I didn't expect that my son would make such a fuss and actually marry a young lady from the Marquis of Guang'an to our family. It is impossible for many people to get married with Guangjins waiting for. Old man, you will be easier to do things in Yamen in the future. You don't have to look at people, let alone offend people. Liang Hongchang has an upright temperament. When he was young, he often offended his colleagues and was punished by wearing small shoes. It was Yuan who went from house to house behind his back to give him some apologies and wipe his ass. After so many years, Liang Hongchang's temperament was still as tough as ever, but she felt more and more powerless. After her son got this marriage, she instantly felt that the burden on her shoulders was much lighter, and she became much more active in this marriage. It only took less than a month from Nake to asking for names and then to Naji and Najhan. After the application period, the marriage was scheduled for August 16. After Zhang Ning finished all these things, the results of the college examination were announced. As expected, both Yang brothers were on the list. Zhang Ning was even happier than when he was granted the title of Marquis, and he wished he could celebrate with a flowing feast for 3 days and 3 nights. At this moment, Zhou Mian came to the door with congratulatory gifts. Auntie, congratulations, congratulations, Zhou Mian burst into auspicious words as soon as he entered the door, which made Zhang Ning almost confused. He glanced at her angrily. Auntie accepted your blessing, and there will be a table at home soon. You stay and have fun, just let Guo or go back and talk to your mother-in-law. Zhou Mian nodded, obeyed, looked around, and asked strangely, where is Brother Santi? Zhang Ning looked helpless and said with a smile, that skinny monkey disappeared after the results were released, and I don't know where he went. Do you have anything to do with him? Zhou Mian shook his head and explained seriously, no, I just heard my grandfather talk about the results of this college examination at home. My grandfather mentioned Brother Santi and Brother Sizhuang. Needless to say, Brother Sizhuang, he is a man of solid knowledge, and his grandfather is very optimistic about him. It is reasonable for him to be on the list this time. However, my grandfather was a little surprised by his triathlon brother. According to my grandfather, Brother Santi was lucky, because last year the Earth Dragon turned over, Kuzhu Prefecture suffered heavy losses, and many young scholars died as a result, so it was necessary to make up for it. In addition, the prefect urgently needs to recruit talents and brainstorm, so he has added many people's livelihood and economic issues to this year's test questions. It happens that the strengths of Santi brother are tested, so he can be on the list. One of the questions was about how to create maximum profits for Kuzhu Prefecture in the shortest time. His idea was very special. When I came over, my grandfather also told me that if I meet Brother Santi, I must let him go back to the academy. Zhang Ning thought that Yang Santi was suspected of cheating in the imperial examination, and was shocked. When he learned that this was the case, He immediately breathed a sigh of relief and asked Huaji to go out and look for the person. The two children passed the examination and the date of Yang Aria's marriage was decided. Zhang Ning hurriedly wrote to Li to inform them of the situation. Unexpectedly, the government was faster than her. When Xia Yuchen received the results of the college examination, he immediately ordered Dong Ziyi to go to Rongsha village in person. It is not the year or the festival, nor is it busy farming time. Most of the villagers are working in the workshops. Dong Ziyi walked in and went straight to Mr. Li. "Old madam, good news. The third and fourth young masters have passed the imperial examination, and your family has two talented people." With a clang, the adobe in Li's hand fell to the ground. She stood up suddenly and shouted excitedly at the top of her voice, "What did you say? Are all the 3 iron and 4 villages admitted to be scholars? Hey! This is really a big deal." Ms. Lu also looked at Dong Ziyi with a look of pride. Ms. Zhang came over and stuttered with excitement, "We have come from all over the country, but there is still no one with 2 talents in one family. No. This time, our village will have a good face again." Pang was overjoyed. Her father-in-law is getting older and is about to retire. If nothing else happens, her man will be the next village chief. The village is getting better and better, and she will be able to follow suit. From now on, when others go out, they will hear that she is Rongsha village. The eldest mother-in-law would look up to her. Dong Ziyi smiled and nodded repeatedly, "The news is absolutely true. Your Excellency specially ordered me to come and tell you." Later, there will be officials beating gongs and drums to officially come to the village to announce the good news. Hearing this, Ms. Li put her heart completely back into her stomach. After she regained her composure, she couldn't help crying with joy. She sobbed from a low voice to howling loudly, as if she wanted to release all the hesitation and insecurity during this period. She cried until almost fainting. When the villagers saw her crying like this, they hurriedly gathered around her and took turns trying to persuade her, without even thinking about working. Ms. Li returned home and felt better after a long sleep. As soon as she opened her eyes, she saw many people in the room. When Ms. Lu saw that she was awake, she immediately became happy and shouted, "Okay, okay. It's okay." Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 364. Chapter 364 Betrothal Gift and Dowry. Li looked at Old Man Yang blankly. Old Man Yang's eyes were red, and he had obviously cried a lot just now. "Old lady, you fainted just because you said it was a big day, you almost scared us to death." Yang Lao's tense expression softened a lot after Li woke up. He opened his mouth, not knowing what to say, because he knew that Li didn't want to see him, so he didn't dare to do anything for fear of causing trouble to Li again. Yang Lao-san brought a glass of water and helped Li sit up to moisten her mouth. After drinking a glass of water, Li felt much better and struggled to get off the ground. Zhu-san, who came to deliver the letter, just stepped forward to salute Li. "Old madam, it's great that you are okay. The doctor just showed it to you and told you to remember the joys and sorrows." "You are Zhu-san," Li thought for a moment, her eyes widening. Zhu-san nodded flatteringly, "The old lady is so amazing, she actually remembers the little one. Why are you here? Did your wife ask you to deliver the letter?" Ms. Li was only thinking about her 2 grandsons who were lucky enough to be a scholar. She had already recovered from any illness or pain. Seeing her eager look, Zhu-san quickly took out the letter from his arms and presented it respectfully. "Old madam, it is indeed madam who asked the young master to come and deliver the letter, mainly for the 3rd and 4th young masters to pass the scholar examination. And the eldest lady's wedding date has been decided." Li was stunned for a moment, and her smile gradually widened. "Aria's wedding date has been set? What did the man say?" Zhu-san quickly replied, "It's August 16th, which is a good day." Ms. Li immediately smiled from ear to ear. Okay, okay. Are all the wedding stuff ready? Didn't your wife say if we need to do anything? Zhu-san shook his head. Madam said that she would arrange for someone to take the old lady to Fukan in advance. All other things have been taken care of, so the old lady can feel at ease. Zhou and Li looked at each other and asked in a low voice, have you prepared Aria's dowry? Third, Madam, don't worry, everything is ready. Zhu-san understood what they were concerned about, and continued, the betrothal gift given by the Liang family includes 200 taels of betrothal money, a load of betrothal cakes, 8 types of seafood, abalone, ginseng, wing belly, and hare. Vegetables, oysters, scallops, and shrimps. The 3 animals were given 2 pairs of chickens, and pork, wine, fruits, fish, Sijing fruit, 4-color sugar, tea, sesame seeds, sticker boxes, incense cannons, gold bracelets, and rice. Some of the betrothal gifts are generous, and they are all purchased in accordance with the requirements of the official media. This pair that Zhu-san mentioned made everyone in the room dumbfounded. Ms. Lu clicked her tongue and said, this wealthy family has many rules for getting married. The bride price alone is 200 taels. Just think of it, we can marry 100 wives. Everyone nodded in agreement. Zhu-san pursed his lips and smiled softly, saying nothing. Yang Laoer couldn't help but regret when he heard the 200 taels of bride price. If he had persisted more, his daughter would still be his, and this kind of scenery would also belong to his family. Li knew what Yang Laoer was thinking at just one glance. She lowered her eyes with a sullen face, and immediately put on a worried look and said, the man has given such a large bride price, how much dowry should I prepare for you? Ms. Lu consoled her, didn't Lao-san's family give Arya a yard as a dowry? At least there are dozens of taels. I thought this was the only gift in our village before, but compared with the betrothal gift given by the Liang family, it is not enough at all. Ms. Li is so worried. Yang Dia gritted her teeth and stood up with her child in her arms. Grandma, don't worry. If it doesn't work, let's try to get it together. We should be able to get 100 taels together. Li looked at her with pity and shook her head, you have paid too much for your second wife. Now that Arya is getting married, it is beyond our capabilities. How can we put pressure on you? As she said this, Li glared hard. Yang Laoer glanced at him. This time Yang Laoer didn't even dare to fart. Zhu-san looked around and said unhurriedly, old madam, you don't have to worry. The eldest lady will also call our lady Anyang now. My lady has naturally prepared all the eldest lady's dowry. What have you prepared, sister-in-law? Zhou asked curiously. Zhu-san straightened his back and said, a set of plum blossom red gold noodle, a set of gilded green noodle, a set of pearl noodle, a set of sterling silver noodle, plus 2 red sandalwood dowry sets, Huanghu Alibaba bed, rosewood 3. There are various tables, screens, rosewood beauty couches, 8 immortals tables, piano tables, desks, etc., screens, various porcelain ornaments, all 4 seasons clothes, bedding and fabrics, and 600 taels of silver at the bottom of the box, and a personal nanny. Zhu-san read out Yang Arya's dowry in one breath without losing breath. The villagers were stunned when they heard this and couldn't react for a long time. Yang Dia was the first to come back to her senses, swallowed her saliva, and asked, these many things must cost a lot of money. She asked what everyone was thinking. Zhu-san nodded honestly, it's natural. After all, you are marrying a girl from the Marquis of Guang'an, so there must be pomp and ceremony. Apart from other things, the furniture and porcelain alone cost thousands of taels, and the 4 sets of hair and face also cost several hundred taels, plus the silver at the bottom of the box and other things. You can definitely get a few thousand taels of silver. Everyone was so frightened that they did not dare to speak. Li nodded dryly, a little nervous, why do you guys give Arya so much dowry? She felt powerless even thinking about it later. Zhu-san chuckled and said, old madam, madam said, You don't need to worry about these things. I just came here to give you a message so that you can feel at ease. If it weren't for Yang Lao being here, he wouldn't even want to say so much. Now let's explain these things clearly in front of Yang Lao lest Yang Lao think that their wife took advantage of adopting Yang area. Zhu San explained the matter clearly and left. Other people in the village saw that Li was fine and congratulated her and left. Yang Lao helped Yang Lao San send the villagers out, and he didn't dare to say a word from the beginning to the end. Zhu San returned to Fukan from Rongsha village. When he saw Zhongning, he immediately told her vividly what he had seen and heard in the village. Sun Yan frowned as he listened. Anyang, do you think the second wife will come over on the day Arya gets married? Zhongning took a sip of saliva and said with a faint look, maybe. After all, Fugui is still here, and he won't rest assured if he doesn't take this opportunity to come and take a look. Sun Yan pouted and complained on behalf of Yang Arya and Yang Fugui, if you ask me, they are really pitiful. Arya is just a girl. She is still protected by her mother-in-law. She will have nothing to do with the second wife in the future. But Fugui will never be able to get rid of him in this life. The daughter-in-law heard from Yi and her father that Fugui was steady and down-to-earth in his work. He had worked in the brick kiln for so long and had never made any mistakes, let alone said a word about money. Although he was young, he was able to handle things. Listen to Yi, her father wanted to reuse it. Zhongning nodded, I also know this. The 3 children of the second wife are all good in nature. They were taught a wrong way by those 2 parents before. Now that they have straightened themselves out, they can naturally be cultivated without delay. As for wealth, dad, as well as his grandpa and grandma, won't be able to cause trouble for the time being. In 2 years, when he becomes rich and wealthy, I will help him find a marriage. As long as he gets married, his dad won't be able to cause any trouble. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 365. Chapter 365, Doing Business. While talking, Yang Santi came back from the academy. Looking at the wind and fire, he was very anxious. What are you causing trouble like, you little monkey? Zhongning looked at the bright sun outside and felt a little distressed. Yang Santi wiped his sweat and said, Auntie, I want to go on a business trip and study. Please arrange some people for me. Zhongning looked stunned. When did it happen? Why didn't I know? Who are you going with? The gentleman from the academy. Yang Santi shook his head. No, I'll go by myself. Huh? Zhongning had a question mark on his face. Sun Yan was even more confused. Don't you still want to participate in Kaiwei? No, 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 I won't play anymore. Yang Santi shook his head like a rattle. Auntie, second sister-in-law, you also know that I was in the right place at the right time and with the right people. I was lucky enough to be selected as a scholar. Chiu Wei didn't even. You don't have to look at it, you definitely won't be able to pass it. I'm 15 now, Liang Xiaoqian and I are about to get married, and I don't want to continue to waste time like this. You know that I like to make money. Before, I boasted to my mother-in-law that I would pay for my wife in the future, but now the money is not enough. Yang Santi folded his hands, feeling very sad. Xiu Yan was happy. Could it be that you also want to get married? Zhongning looked over immediately. Yang Santi was so frightened that he shook his head and waved his hands. Second sister-in-law. Stop making fun of me. I just want to make money, lots and lots of money. As he spoke, he looked at Zhongning weakly, with a pleading look on his face. Auntie, you promised me before. As long as I study hard, you promised me to do business. Zhongning sighed, rubbed his eyebrows, and smiled helplessly. Since I promised you, I won't regret it, but are you really planning to give up your official career? No. Yang Santi looked outside, with a bit of sadness in his eyes. the main reason is that I feel that the world outside is vast, and I have been stuck in one place staring at a book and can't understand the meaning. Instead of doing this, I might as well go out for a walk. I can not only make money, but also increase my knowledge. In a few years, I think I will be ready to go back to college, and I may gain new insights, don't you think so? Yes, Zhang answered in the affirmative. Since you have thought about it, I won't stop you, but it's chaotic outside, so if you really go out, you need to bring more people with you. Yang Santi touched his nose and said, it doesn't take too much. Xiahua can run around alone. She is not afraid of a little girl. What should I be afraid of? Sun Yan stared in shock. You can't compare with Xiahua. With Xiahua's medical skills, you don't have to worry about wherever you go, can you? That's right, Zhang Ning was convinced. In spite of Yang Santi's resistance, she sent someone back to Ping'an County to find Wu Changfeng, to provide him with a team of escorts and arrange some bodyguards, so that she could feel at ease. It was already the end of July when Yang Santi left with the caravan. There have been several heavy rains in Kuzhou Prefecture. It is humid and hot. The cicadas chirping outside the window are endless, as if they are about to pierce the eardrums. Zhang Ning couldn't rest even if he wanted to. He was feeling depressed when he heard the sound of carriage coming from far away. Huaji went out to take a look, then came in with a happy face and reported, Madam, the old lady and the others are here. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a sound of footsteps outside the door. As soon as Zhang Ning sat up, Mrs. Li was helped by Mrs. Zhou and Yang Dia to step into the threshold. Yang Laosan supported old Yang, and Yang Ligui followed beside him. Yang Ligui was followed by Fang Muxi and his two children. The last ones walking behind were Yang Laoer and Bai Yuniang. Zhang Ning glanced at them, his eyes fell on the Li family, and quickly asked the servants to watch the tea. As soon as Ms. Li sat down, she couldn't wait to ask, are the 3 iron and 4 villages still in the academy? When we first entered the village, we took a look at the workshop. Erden and Fugui were not there. Where did they go? Knowing that Li was thinking about his grandson, Zhang Ning hurriedly explained, last month, the imperial court allocated a group of exiled criminals to Kuzhou Prefecture. There were many more people to build the city wall, and the government did not have to pay for the work. Master Ji was very happy. Ordered people to speed up the progress. Some of the brick kilns on Zhuangzi were not in supply, and there was still some distance from here to the east of the city. Erden felt that it was a waste of manpower and material resources, so he took Fugui to the east of the city, where he surrounded a few acres of land and built a large brick kiln specifically for building city walls. Fugui went to help. In the future, the brick kiln would be handed over to Yang Fugui, but Zhang Ning did not say it clearly in front of Yang Laoer and Bai Yuniang. This is a serious matter and cannot be delayed. There is no need to send someone to inform them, old man Yang said quickly, for fear of missing the important event of his 2 grandsons. Li continued to ask, what about the 3 iron and 4 villages? Didn't you say that you were admitted as a scholar? Are you still studying? Aren't you coming back? Zhang Ning thought for a while and told Li truthfully, it's not easy for him to be admitted as a scholar in Santi this time. He was thinking about going out to do business to make money. After spending a long time with me, I can only agree. The team has gone on a long trip, and Sizhuang is still in school. He is focused on pursuing an official career and wants to give it a try in autumn. Counting the days, it will be soon. Ms. Li was both happy and disappointed. It's a good thing that children have ideas. In 2 days, I will go to the academy to see the 4 villages, and then go to the east of the city. I don't have to bother them. It's just the 3 irons. I won't be able to see them this time. Old man Yang in turn advised, same thing next time we meet. By the way, where is Arya from our family? As soon as he finished speaking, Yang area led a nanny through the door and ran towards Mr. Li and old man Yang, grandpa and grandma. She was seen wearing a water pink plum dress, with a simple bun on her long black hair and a jade hairpin. She had a rosy complexion and her skin was fairer and more delicate than before. It looked like she was well nourished. Li was so happy that she hugged her and asked her for her welfare. The more she looked at her, the more satisfied she became. She couldn't help joking with Zhongning, "Area has been raised by you to the point where I can hardly recognize her." Mrs. Joe said from the side, "No. Auntie, Area just walked in, and my daughter-in-law thought she saw a young lady from a wealthy family." Yang Area blushed and was very shy. "Third aunt, please stop teasing me. Auntie said that the Liang family is a scholarly family. Although Mr. Liang never minds my origin, I can't embarrass the Liang family. In the past 6 months, Grandma invited my grandma and Mr. 11, and Xiao to teach me how to read and write. Grandma taught me a lot of rules. I have to learn them every day when I open my eyes. As time goes by, I will get used to them." Mr. Zhou nodded repeatedly. "Sister-in-law, you are attentive. If you study hard, you will make no mistakes." Yang Area nodded heavily. His eyes fell on Yang Dia, who was looking at her with a smile. "Sister." Yang Dia's expression changed and she shook her head slightly. Zhongning saw this but didn't take it seriously. "Go ahead, you sisters, go to the backyard and have a nice chat. I knew you were coming, so I had people clean up the yard in Xinghua village, but the rooms there are limited and we can't live there so many people." Li took over the conversation immediately. "Just let the second and third sons live there. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fensti. Chapter 366. Chapter 366. A bunch of people came to the village. When Li spoke, Zhongning immediately nodded. "That's fine. Then my father, mother, and Dia's family will live in Ziwan, and I'll have someone clean up a yard for you." As she said this, she looked at Li Gui and said, "Li Gui, where do you want to live?" Yang Legui glanced at Mr. Zhou carefully, and under Mr. Li's encouraging eyes, he took a deep breath and said, "Auntie, I want to live with Fugui, is that okay?" Zhongning nodded with a smile. "Of course you can. You have been studying in a private school for a year. Later, my aunt will prepare some things for you and ask Butler Zhu to take you to meet your husband. Don't lose the due etiquette." Yang Legui hurriedly bowed and said respectfully, "Thank you very much, uncle." Zhou was a little embarrassed. She had simply forgotten about this incident. Li and others were tired from traveling, so after Zhongning made arrangements, he asked his servants to send them back to rest. Bai Yuniang helped Yang Lao out of the mansion, her eyes flickering, and she resisted speaking. The backyard of the big house. Yang Area took Yang Dia to the yard where he lived. As soon as he entered the door, Yang Dia closed the door, pulled Yang Area to the chair and said happily, "I was worried about you being careful in your life in Fukan before, but now that you are like this, I am worrying too much." Yang Area shook his head and hugged Yang Dia with red eyes. "Sister, I miss you. How are you doing in the village? Is he still causing trouble for you from time to time as before?" Because of the resentment in his heart and the fact that he had been adopted, Yang Area didn't even want to call him daddy. Yang Dia chuckled and shook his head. "It's okay. The last time the Bai family and his son made a fuss, my grandfather and grandma were so angry that they almost didn't want to recognize my father's son. My father also knew that he was afraid and couldn't help it anymore. Bai Yuniang can do whatever she wants. Now that Bai Yuniang's contract of sale is still in our hands, there won't be any trouble. Keeping her by my father's side is just to find someone to serve him. With her here, I don't even want to go to my parents' yard." My father has no shame in asking me for anything. As long as he is not sick or in trouble, I don't care. That's good, Yang Area breathed a sigh of relief and said, what about your family? Now that you have 2 more children, how are you doing? She grabbed Yang Dia's rough hands, feeling so distressed that tears rolled down her eyes. But Yang Dia didn't care, I have the final say in everything at home. When I have free time on weekdays, I go to the workshop to smash adobes. I can save hundreds of coins in a month. Your brother-in-law can now earn more than 1 or 2 yuan a month. When I have free time, I will go to the mountains and rivers to set traps. Occasionally I can catch a pheasant, a few fish or some snails and come back. I still have a living in the fields at home. In addition to being a worldly person, there is no place for money. By saving and saving, I will have a family, and my grandma and grandma will occasionally secretly give some food to the children. My life was very good, and you don't need to worry about it. Even though she said that, Yang Area was still worried. She stood up, opened the cabinet, took out a bundle and put it on the table. Sister, there are some materials in here, and a bag of silver, about 20 taels. Take it back, don't say it either. Yang Dia jumped up from the stool in shock. What are you doing? What are you doing? I don't want it, put it away quickly. Yang Dia anxiously stretched out her hand to stop her. Yang Area refused. Sister, these are all I saved from working for my second sister-in-law after I came to Fukan. 20 taels is nothing to the Liang family, but it is of great use to you. Take this money, and when the children are older, send them to school for enlightenment, so that they can study hard. In the future, they will be able to understand even if they can't take the imperial examination. If we don't become blind, if we can't raise talents in 1 generation, we will have 2 generations and 3 generations. If you work behalf of others, you can always cultivate talents, right? 20 taels of silver is enough for 2 children to go to school for a few years. You have sacrificed too much for me and wealth over the years, so just treat it as my repayment to you, okay? Yang Area had a pleading look on her face and tears fell down, causing Yang Dia to wipe her tears, but she still shook her head and refused. You are the eldest uncle's daughter now, and the dowry for your wedding was all given by the eldest uncle's mother. I can't. It makes you unable to hold your head high as a human being. Yang Area hurriedly said, my mother knows, I have told her. Originally, my mother asked me if these things would be too little. I said no, I saved these all by myself. You can rest assured to collect them, that's it. After Yang Area's repeated begging, Yang Dia had no choice but to accept the burden. After turning around, she went to the front yard to meet Zhongning. Auntie, this baggage was given to me by Area. It contains some materials and about 20 taels of silver. Logically speaking, she has been adopted by you, so she is not from our second room. She's young and ignorant. Don't blame her. I can't accept this burden. Zhongning looked at Yang Area, who was so sensible, and sighed secretly in his heart, and said slowly, yeah, sit down. The adoption of Area under my name is for the sake of her future and Mr. Liang's future, but it is also helpless. My uncle-in-law is not trying to steal someone from you. You are sisters from the same mother. You were before and you will still be in the future. Area showed me this baggage a long time ago. She said it has been very difficult for you these years. When you come, she will give these things to you. I agreed. If she had not refused, I would have even wanted to add some things to it. After all, Fang Muxi is mine, and I recognize the abilities and character of the 4 Fang brothers. If they had not settled down in Rongsha village early, I would have even thought of transferring them to Fukan to work. There are only you and me here today. I will give you a thorough explanation. Think about it carefully later. Now Fukan Brickkill is short of people. It stands to reason that we can buy more servants, but this shortage is temporary. Wait. After the city wall is completed, the brick kiln factory will most likely downsize its staff. At that time, there would be no place to arrange the people we bought, and since they had not made any mistakes, it would be difficult for us to sell them. Erden didn't want to be in a dilemma, so he thought of recruiting people from outside. The people recruited from outside are not only good, but also easy to have other ideas. This problem needs to be solved as soon as possible. The first thing I thought of was the four Fang brothers. They have been working in the village workshop for so many years. Needless to say, they have experience and can manage people, so they can feel comfortable using their ant. Fang Muzhu and the others estimate that they can all come if I just say a word. They only have square wooden mats. It's not easy to support a family, and you have to be taken into consideration, so I didn't discuss it with him just now, but told you here first. You can talk to him when you go back and give me an accurate answer after Arya gets married. Yang Dia quickly stood up and thanked her. Because of what Zhang Ning said, she even forgot that she was here to return the baggage. She was absent-minded when she left and almost tripped over the threshold. "Mammy," you whispered beside Zhang Ning, "Madam, after you mentioned this, the eldest daughter of the second wife may not be able to sleep and eat well these days. On the one hand, there is the responsibility that she hates but cannot get rid of. On the other hand, there is the future of her husband and the future of her children. No matter what choice she makes, she cannot be perfect. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over." Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 367. Chapter 367 Yang Dia's Tangle. Zhang Ning took a sip of tea and said calmly, "Yang Do made the whole family restless because of a prostitute he bought. He didn't even think about selling the woman when things got so bad. It shows that he is an extremely selfish person at heart. Man, such a person is not worth risking the future of her husband and children. If she were sober, she would know how to choose. And you agreed very much. I just saw that old slave. Except for some disadvantages in his legs and feet, he has a very good body, a ruddy complexion, black hair, and well-kept skin. He doesn't look like a countryman at all, but he is the woman next to me is a bit shady. Not to mention that she came from a brothel, the old slave really doesn't dare to think about it." Zhang Ning was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter. "Yang Do hasn't done farm work since he injured his legs and feet. Before, the three siblings, Dia and his brother, took turns doing it, and his father and mother helped him. The children were annoyed later. Without him, his father and mother no longer wanted to take care of him. Yang Do had no choice but to let the woman go to the ground. To be honest, when Bai Yuniang was in the brothel, she probably wasn't as miserable as she is now. Look, she was such a beautiful and caring girl, and she was transformed by him into being just like an ordinary peasant woman. If you ask me, Yang Do is also a wealthy woman. It's up to you." Mammy Yu really looks down on Yang Do more and more. At this time, Bai Yuniang, who had just returned to the small courtyard of Xinghua village, threw her bag on the table as if she was angry, and looked resentfully at Yang Lao'er, who was waiting for her to serve her. He said hello, but he missed us. Thinking of the big house in Dongli Villa, she was filled with jealousy. How could Zhang Ning, who was born in the same family, become the master, but she entered a brothel and wanted to beg her lover? How could fate be so unfair to her? Yang Lao'er's face was a little ugly, but he glanced at Bai Yuniang coldly. "Come here and serve me, why are you talking so much?" Bai Yuniang was reluctant to go over and help him take off his shoes. She was completely blown away by the smelly athlete's foot. She cried aggrievedly, "Isn't what I said true? You didn't listen when I didn't let you adopt Arya. You paid so much as a betrothal gift, it has nothing to do with us. They didn't even call you daddy just now, but you still eagerly moved forward. Da Fang did his best for San Fang, but he turned a blind eye to us. Why? It was obviously Qian who offended her, and now that you both have reconciled, she is still holding on to the past. How can you be so partial? You're not very good at beating me and scolding me at home. Why don't you even dare to fart when you come out? Arya is obviously your biological child, but she has nothing to do with you when she gets married. How could Dafang be so hateful? In Bai Yuniang's view, the second family and the first family broke up because of the Qian family, and Yang Do did not do anything to apologize to the first family. Now that the Qian family is no longer a Yang family, the two families should get back together, and the third family should get back together. If they have it, they should also have a second room. Yang Laoer was unhappy because he had just been treated coldly at Dongli Villa, but Bai Yuniang exposed her so mercilessly. He was so angry that he kicked her to the ground. It's not your turn to deal with me, come and take care of me. If you dare to mess with me again, I will beat you to death. If all the money in his hands hadn't been taken away by Yang Dia and the others, he would have even thought of changing someone. After all, the Bai Yuniang now is no longer the Bai Yuniang who was redeemed by him. Without her good-looking appearance, he would also lost interest. Although Bai Yuniang already knew Yang Laoer's true nature, she couldn't help but feel cold after hearing his words. She huddled at the foot of the bed and sobbed sadly. Across the way, Yang Lao-san and his wife frowned as they listened to the movements in the second room. Zhou expressed her dissatisfaction in a low voice. The second child is getting more and more outrageous. Before, his precious Bai Yuniang was tight, but now he is either beating or scolding him, and he looks disgusted. Since he doesn't like it, why don't you sell him out? Are you tired of staying with me every day? We are tired even if he is not tired. Zhou had already bumped into Yang Laoer taking care of Bai Yuniang several times along the way. She felt uncomfortable, but Yang Laoer acted as if nothing was wrong, and Bai Yuniang was as thick-skinned as a city wall. She would do what she had to do after being repaired. Yang Lao-san pulled Zhou to lie down. Okay. The matter of the second room has nothing to do with us. Anyway, we won't live together when we return to the village. Let's just pretend we don't know. Fortunately, Li Gui didn't live here. Otherwise, I will definitely not comply, Zhou murmured depressedly. Although this yard has already given Yang Area as a dowry, she has paid half of the money, so she can drive people out with confidence. As for the money her parents-in-law gave her, she has forgotten it for the time being. Yang Lao-san agreed very much and said, fortunately, my sister-in-law was thoughtful today and prepared things for Li Gui to visit my husband. I hope that my husband will not blame me. He knew that scholars were the most disciplined and meticulous, and kept many problems in mind that old men like them couldn't think of. If your son wants to study, he must not offend others, lest he will be inexplicably wearing small shoes in the future. Mr. Zhou lowered her head in shame. When I go to the villa tomorrow, I will personally apologize to my sister-in-law. She was really frightened at the beginning and couldn't care about anything. After returning to the village, she gradually calmed down and realized that what she did was unethical. Yang Lao-san responded softly and fell into a deep sleep. This side of Z1 of Dongli Villa. Yang Dia returned to the yard with her baggage in mind. When Fang Muxi heard the commotion, he quietly came out and took a look, greeted her into the house, closed the door gently, and said in a low voice, "My grandpa and grandma are resting in the room opposite. After riding a carriage all the way, the old couple are exhausted. It didn't take long before I fell asleep. The children have just been put to sleep, please be gentle, Isn't this our family's burden?" Yang Dia lowered his head to look at the things in his arms, patted his head in annoyance, and opened it to show him. It was given by Arya. She saved the money and materials herself and said she would bring them back to me. There are 22 silver coins, she said. Let me send the children to school in the future, and I can't delay the children's future. Bitch, we can't accept this money. Fang Muxi looked serious. Yang Dia nodded. I thought so too, so I went to my aunt to tell her about it, and I plan to return it to her. I didn't expect that my aunt knew about it a long time ago. She didn't want to accept it at all, and even said something I was temporarily distracted by other things, so I brought the baggage back in a daze. Fang Muxi knew Yang Dia's temperament. What could make her so dazed? What's going on? What did the aunt say? Yang Dia sighed, sat down slowly, and told Fang Muxi exactly what Zhang Ning said. Fang Muxi was stunned at first, then fell into deep thought. If it were the eldest brother, the second brother, and the third brother, they would definitely be willing to come to Fukan. Apart from other things, the money this month alone would definitely be more than what they have now, and they have nothing to worry about. There's nothing to worry about. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 368. Chapter 368 Old Man Yang's Opinions. What about you? Yang Dia pursed her lips and looked at the square wooden mat without blinking. Fang Muxi held her hand with his backhand and smiled reassuringly. Of course I will listen to you. If you want me to come, I will come. If you don't want me to come, I will stay in the village and work, no matter where you go. It's all up to you. Yang Dia took out her hand dejectedly. Her mood was very low. What's the difference between saying this and not saying it? If you ask me, I naturally hope you come to Fukan. The eldest uncle's status is unusual now, and outsiders want to reach her. If you come to Fukan and do things under the eyes of the eldest uncle, she can also remember you as a person, which will only be good for our family and not bad. But if you come and leave me and the children in the village, I will have to take care of the two children, as well as my grandpa and grandma. That day was no different than being a widow. Fang Muxi hugged him and felt very distressed. If you want me to come but are reluctant to separate from me, why don't you and your children stay in Fukan, and my three brothers are here, so we don't have to worry about being bullied by outsiders. What you said is so easy. Yang Dia beat Fang Muxi's chest and shed tears. Although my father is not a thing, he is my father after all. Arya has been adopted by my eldest uncle. Fugui also stays in Fukan to work. If I drag my family over with you again, what will Dad do? Speaking of Yang Laoer, Fang Muxi's face turned a little cold. I'd say your father is very good. He doesn't need your care at all. He's not too old. He lives a comfortable life and can be more chic for 10 or 20 years, you have been worrying blindly. Yang Dia sighed. Even so, the three of us siblings have left, and my father will definitely not accept it. He has always regretted the adoption of Arya to his eldest uncle this time, and often murmurs in my ears how much he has done. He felt sorry for the three of us and said that he adopted Arya because he didn't want Arya to blame him in the future. That was not his original intention. During this period, I often find ways to stuff things for our two children. He takes the initiative to show his kindness, but I can't just think about myself. Fang Muxi thought for a while and said, when Grandpa and Grandma wake up later, we will talk to them and see what Grandpa and Grandma say. In his opinion, apart from Zhang Ning, Old Man Yang and Mr. Li are the most able to handle the situation among the entire Yang family, and will not place any shackles on the younger generation. Yang Dia was torn between filial piety and her future. She couldn't think of a better way, so she could only nod in agreement. The two rested until dusk when they were awakened by the sound of children playing. The couple opened the door and saw an old couple sitting in the yard watching their children play. Yang Dia was a little embarrassed and hurried over. Grandpa and Grandma, when did you wake up? Wake up early. I'm old and can't sleep, by the way. When did you come back? What did you tell Arya? Ms. Li looked at her eldest granddaughter longingly, waiting for her answer. Yang Dia thought about it and hid nothing. She told everything. When Ms. Li heard that Zhang Ning wanted the four brothers of the Fang family to come to Fukan, she subconsciously looked at Fang Muxi and said, Muxi, did you tell me how much monthly payment you will give me here? Fang Muxi shook his head. Grandma, it was Ya who told me about this. I don't know. My aunt asked us to discuss it. My eldest brother and the others must be fine, but I still can't make up my mind. Li looked at Old Man Yang. Old man, what did you say? Old Man Yang was very calm. Don't worry. When I see Erden, I will ask about the situation here and have a detailed chat with the boss. If I can earn more money by coming to Fukin, I must let Mu11 come over. After all, he has to support a large family by himself, and we can't help him for more than a few years. We have to plan for their future. With just this sentence, Li knew what to do. Yang Dia lowered her eyes. Grandpa and Grandma, I'm just worried about my daddy. Old Man Yang pretended to be angry and reprimanded. You are a married woman, and you are married to your husband. Why are you worried about your father? It's not like he doesn't have a son. Besides, he's not immobile and needs his children to carry his basin. Why don't you worry about this? What, really? Yang Dia didn't feel sad at all after being slapped in the face and taught him a lesson. Instead, she was very moved. This result was expected by Fang Muxi. Because of the old man's sensibleness, he respected Old Man Yang and Li more and more. Zhang Ning called them over for dinner. Yang Erden and Fugui both came back from the east of the city. Yang Legui didn't know what happened to his husband. When he came back, he was in a very excited mood and kept chattering. The old couple were so happy to see their grandson that they kept talking to them. Grandpa and Grandma, do you know what happened when I went to the private school today? Yang Legui looked like that and it was a good thing. Li followed his words lovingly and asked, what happened? Yang Legui danced and gestured, I just went there today and thought that my husband would scold me because I didn't say goodbye. Who knew that my husband saw me bringing something and only gently called me to the study room and asked me where I had been after leaving Fukin and what I was doing for school exams. He took my homework and saw that I have made a lot of progress in the past 6 months. He was very happy and praised Mapo Academy very much. Old Man Yang listened silently and looked at Zhangning. Old man, what did you ask Lai Gui to bring to your door? Zhangning chuckled nonchalantly and said, it's nothing, just some fruits, snacks, and wine, as well as the chickens and ducks raised by Zhuangzi himself, and the pork and mutton slaughtered by the people below. Hiss, Old Man Yang took a breath of air, there are a lot of these things. Mammy, you echoed from the side, no. Madam gave it as a gift according to the gentleman's preference. Old Man Yang looked at his little grandson who was still chatting. He felt more and more that the third daughter-in-law was incompetent, and his face turned red with embarrassment. It's your money, please tell me how much it is, and I'll ask the third daughter to replenish it for you. Zhang Ning laughed dumbly, Dad, we are all from Zhuangzi. If you calculate money with me, wouldn't you be underestimating me? Since the husband is happy, I will take this matter and forget about it. Yang Erden followed up and persuaded, Grandpa, just listen to Grandma. There is yuan in here, and a lot of meat and vegetables are consumed in the village every day. You may see a lot of these things alone, but with Zhuangzi's daily consumption the consumption is nothing compared to that. Old Man Yang was very curious, Erden, how much meat and vegetables does your inn consume every day? Yang Erden called Butler Zhu and asked Butler Zhu to explain to Old Man Yang. Butler Zhu was very familiar with this and immediately said, Zhuangzi kills 5 or 6 pigs, 7 sheep, 60 chickens, and 80 ducks every day. In addition, he kills 10 geese for the bottom of the fish, not to mention. The pond on Zhuangzi originally did not have enough fish, but now it has more than doubled in size. Every day, hundreds of fish are caught and kept in large tanks for future use. When they are almost depleted, they can be fished in the pond again. In addition to these are eggs, duck eggs, and goose eggs, hundreds and hundreds of them are used every day. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 369. Chapter 369 Yang Dia's Decision. Old man Yang was speechless when he heard this. Isn't it true that we haven't entered the city yet? Isn't the in business so good? Butler Zhu nodded heavily, to say that the in business is good. It started from the Earth Dragon's turnaround last year. At that time, many houses outside the city collapsed, and some inns and restaurants in the city had cracks even if they did not collapse. For safety reasons, the government removed those. The place was all closed and renovated. Our Dongli Villa and Inn have experienced such a serious natural disaster but remained intact, and our reputation spread instantly. In addition, this is the only way to enter the city, so many caravans and escorts are more willing to stay here. Secondly, our place is spacious. Secondly, the accommodation conditions are good, and thirdly, we have delicious food and wine here, many of which are not available in the city. Apart from other things, the newly launched iron pot stew this year has been loved by many business travelers from all over the world. After all, it is difficult to agree with everyone. With an iron pot stew, you can put whatever you want into it. You can save money and still have a satisfying meal. There are also many students from Kuzhu Academy will occasionally come here to order a pot. It is precisely because of stewing in iron pots that we consume a lot more chickens, ducks, and geese. Old man Yang and the others were stunned for a moment after hearing this, and their admiration for Jiangning went from admiration to adoration. Li sighed, I don't know how my brain grows, but I can't even keep up with the ideas that come out. As if I can keep up, old man Yang said this, making the whole room burst into laughter. Old man Yang disagreed and asked about the brick kiln in the east of the city. Erden, tell me, are you really busy there? Yang Erden pushed out Yang Fuegui, who had been silent. Master, Fuegui is in charge of that place now. Ask Fuegui. Yang Dia's eyes widened instantly, and even old man Yang and Mrs. Li looked surprised. Yang Fuegui is only 12 years old, so he is still half a boy. How come you are responsible for such a large brick kiln? Erden, are you just trying to make fun of me? Old man Yang murmured. Fuegui, you tell me yourself. Yang Erden didn't even bother to talk nonsense. Yang Fuegui nodded heavily, with a very serious expression. What the second cousin said is true. I am mainly in charge of that over there now. The second cousin still has many things to be busy with, so he can't just focus on one place. Li Shi came to his senses and said quickly, then you have to work hard and not embarrass your aunt and second cousin, do you understand? This news is like pie in the sky to them. Yang Fuegui has done his job, and they don't need to worry about their future. Yang Dia knelt down to Jiangning gratefully, thank you so much, auntie, for your support. Hey! You kid! I am employing people without kissing them. I want wealth and honor to work for themselves. Get up and talk nicely. As soon as Jiangning finished speaking, Huaji went over and helped Yang Dia up. Very discerning. After Yang Dia stood up, she said seriously, auntie, I have already thought about the things you asked Dia to consider, and we are willing to come and help. Jiangning nodded happily, it's good if you can think about it. We are all from my own family here, and I won't come here for nothing. Mu11, you work in the village workshop, and now you can earn more than 1 or 2 yuan a month. Here we are in the east of the city, you 4 brothers will be arranged by Fuegui and Erden. The monthly salary will be 1 to 2 to 500 yuan, and you will be given a commission based on the profit of the brick kiln every month. Thank you, uncle. I will work hard and won't let you down, Fang Muxi promised in front of everyone. Everyone nodded with satisfaction, and no one mentioned Yang Laoer. Since Fang Muxi decided to stay, he naturally took advantage of these few days to get familiar with the environment. So in the next few days, he followed Yang Erden and Yang Fuegui to work in the brick kiln in the east of the city every day. Old man Yang couldn't sit still, so he took Yang Ligui and followed Butler Zhu around the village. They first went to see the place where pigs, cattle, and sheep were raised, then to the fish pond, and even caught a few fish himself. There were activities every day. Not boring either. Li took Yang Dia to Sun Yan's place to help, give Sun Yan a hand and chat with him. Zhou was of course indispensable at this time. She was impatient to contact the two people in the second room at Xinghua village. When Tian'er opened her eyes, she ran this way. Yang Lao-san also wanted to come with him, but in this case, the second brother and Bai Yuniang were left behind. Since the second bedroom and the eldest bedroom were no longer engaged, the eldest bedroom did not invite them, and it was difficult for the second bedroom to come. In order to avoid Yang Lao-er's embarrassment, he had to stay and be Yang Lao-er's companion. Looking at Bai Yuniang's bitter face every day, he felt unlucky. However, he was a big man and it was hard for him to care about a woman. Life is simply worse than going to jail. Yang Lao was also in a bad mood. After a few days here, his son never came to see him. Could it be that the boy really didn't recognize him as his father? He was very worried, but he never showed it on his face. He only occasionally took it out on Bai Yuniang to vent his anger. The day before Yang Area got married happened to be August 15th. Zhang Ning sent someone to bring Yang Lao-san to celebrate the festival, but did not mention Yang Lao-san and Bai Yuniang. Yang Lao's heart was as cold as the autumn wind. At this moment, a carriage stopped outside the yard. Yang Fugui came down with his things and went straight inside. Bai Yuniang came out when she heard the commotion and stepped forward enthusiastically with a fake smile. "Fugui, you are back." Yang Fugui avoided her, and happened to see Yang Lao limping out of the room with a look of surprise on his face. "Son. You're finally here. I knew you wouldn't forget Dad." Yang Lao came to Yang Fugui with red eyes and sighed with emotion. "You've grown taller. You've grown stronger too. You're almost as good as Dad. Generally high." Bai Yuniang laughed endlessly behind the father and son. She clenched the hands hidden under her sleeves tightly, and soon loosened them. She ran forward and said, "Oh, Rich. We have been here for more than half a month. What do you think? No matter how busy this kid is, he won't even have time to come over and see your dad. Your dad is always thinking about you." Yang Fugui immediately darkened his face, frowned displeased, and after a moment of silence he explained to Yang Lao, "My second cousin asked me to be the steward of the brick kiln in the east of the city. I usually live there, but not often return." Yang Lao nodded. "Dad, I understand, business matters are more important." Yang Fugui lowered his head to open the food box and took out the exquisite moon cakes and crabs inside. These crabs were sent from Tongchang Mansion. "They are very plump now. I bought some and asked the chef of Yuran in to cook them." "Dad, try it." Yang Lao was surprised and happy. "This must cost a lot of money." Yang Fugui nodded. "One crab is 200 yuan, and these crabs are 1 or 2 more." Yang Lao took a breath of air and retracted his outstretched hand. "It's so expensive. Why are you spending so much money?" Yang Fugui's expression remained normal. "It only happens once a year, so I should buy it to honor my father." Yang Lao was deeply moved. Yang Fugui took out another 2 taels of silver from his arms and gave it to him. "Keep this money. I will go back to the east of the city immediately after the second sister gets married tomorrow. I'm afraid you won't be able to see me off in time when you go back the next day." Dressed as a mother-in-law, she leads the whole family to turn over. Author, Bamboo Fence Tea. Chapter 370. Chapter 370 Yang Area's Wedding. Yang Lao looked at those things and the 2 taels of silver. The dissatisfaction and depression he had accumulated in the past few days had long since dissipated. He said cheerfully, "It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. You are busy with your work. I don't have to worry about being a big man like Dad you give. Seeing his reaction, Yang Fuegui felt a little disappointed, and took the opportunity to say, "One more thing, there are a lot of things happening in the east of the city now. I am a child, and there are always some people who don't take me seriously because I am young, so I just said I told my eldest sister and eldest brother-in-law to come here to work." The eldest sister and eldest brother-in-law agreed, so the family will stay in Fukan. "What?" Yang Lao's expression changed suddenly and he objected subconsciously, "No. Your eldest brother-in-law just stays here. What is your eldest sister doing here as a woman? It will only cause trouble for you." Yang Fuegui lowered his eyes and sneered, "Dad, you haven't forgotten that the eldest sister is getting married and not a daughter-in-law, right? It is natural for a woman to obey her husband when she gets married. The eldest brother-in-law is in Fukan and she has no parents-in-law, so why should she take care of the child alone? Stay in the country and live like a widow?" This Yang Lao was unable to refute, so he said, "Then don't let your eldest brother-in-law come over. Anyway, one more of him here is not more, and one less of him is not more." Yang Fuegui couldn't listen anymore, stood up and looked at him with an indifferent expression. "Dad, remember you are just the eldest brother-in-law's father-in-law, not his biological father. The eldest brother-in-law wants to support the family and pursue a future, and you have no position to stop him. And there is no reason to interfere. The only son you can control is me. If you say the word filial piety, I have to listen. If it doesn't work, I can go back to the village and break adobe bricks." Are you talking about? I didn't let you stay in Fukan," Lao Yang Er gasped in anger. Yang Fuegui's lips curled up with a hint of ridicule. "Then why do you object to the eldest brother-in-law staying? The eldest brother-in-law's surname is Fang, and there are 3 brothers above him. The eldest sister is now the Fang Yang family. Originally, there was no need to inform about the Fang family's affairs. Yours, I came here to tell you because I didn't want you to find out later and make everyone unhappy. Dad, don't waste all my hard work." Yang Lao's mouth twitched hard twice. When he saw his son was about to leave, he took 2 steps forward to chase him. He clenched his fist tightly and said, "Fuegui. Do you still think that I am your father?" Yang Fuegui paused and turned back to look at him calmly. "It's a fact that you gave birth to me, how can I deny it? You want to redeem the firework woman, I can't stop you. You want to shelter evil people, I can't stop you, not even you. There is nothing I can do to push my second sister into a pit of fire by listening to the words of a prostitute, but the things you did really chilled my heart. Now I just want to make money and live a good life. Dad, our father and son are not the same people after all. You will follow grandpa and grandma back to the village honestly. How you lived before is how it will be in the future. I will ask people to give you money every year and festival. You give me money and things to ensure that you have enough food and clothing. This is the greatest filial piety I can do." Yang Lao beat his chest and burst into tears. "Everything I did was just to keep our family together and to protect each other. If I had known the true face of the Bai family father and son, I would never have let your second sister marry such a person." Bai Yuniang's face was extremely gloomy as she listened to the father and son slandering her brother and nephew without scruples, but no one cared. Yang Fuegui chuckled sarcastically, "You knew it earlier? We knew the Bai family and his son were not good people as soon as we met them. Why couldn't you tell?" Yang Lao was stunned and speechless. Yang Fuegui shook his head, got in the car and left, leaving Yang Lao alone crying. Bai Yuniang didn't dare to get into trouble at this time, so she secretly took 2 crabs and a mooncake and hid in the house. This night, a bright full moon hung in the dark sky, making the entire Dongli villa a little brighter. In the garden of the mansion, Zhang asked people to prepare mooncakes, snacks, crabs and other kinds of food, and called everyone in the family over. Yang area is getting married tomorrow. The elders were a little reluctant to give up. They put things into her bowl one after another and warned her repeatedly. Yang Area responded one by one with tears in her eyes, and it was late at night before everyone dispersed. Not long after Yang Area went back to sleep, the servants woke him up at dawn to take a shower, change clothes, and make up. It was already bright, and the whole Dongli villa suddenly became lively. Yang Lao-san and his wife did not go back last night. They got up early this morning to help and saw Bai Yuniang helping Yang Lao over. Yang Lao-san hurried over to make arrangements. Second brother, please take a seat first. The wedding team will be here soon. As soon as Yang Lao took 2 steps, Bai Yuniang covered her stomach with an embarrassed look on her face and said, "Husband, I feel uncomfortable in my stomach. I need to go to the toilet first." Yang Lao frowned, with a bit of disgust and impatience on his face. "Hurry up." "Yes." Bai Yuniang hurriedly left. Yang Lao sat there for 2/4 of an hour without seeing Bai Yuniang come back. Suddenly he had a bad feeling in his heart, so he got up and looked around, and went to look for her alone. Zhang Ning sat at the head of the hall, looking at the guest list handed over by Butler Zhu, and warned, "Today, the prefect, the Zhong family, and some well-known families in the city will come over. There are many people and eyes, so you must keep an eye on me carefully. There are also areas such as the backyard and the bathroom where guests may hang out. We should send more maids, wives, and servants to ensure that no trouble is caused in the villa. There are too many palace fights in the palace fighting house in the previous life, and she can think of it in a bad place." Butler Zhu didn't know why, and he secretly admired Zhang Ning's thoughtfulness, and his face became more and more respectful. "Madam, don't worry, your instructions have been taken care of." At this moment, Mrs. Fan came over with Zhong Mian and her youngest son. As soon as she entered the door, she said with a smile, "Aning, congratulations." Butler Zhu retreated in awe, and Zhang Ning hurriedly greeted him, "Hurry up and sit down, I thought autumn was coming and you couldn't spare the time to come over." "Chi Wei is their men's business, what does it have to do with me?" Fan sat down and said to Zhong Mian, "Take your brother out to play, I will talk to your aunt." Zhong Mian saluted and led her brother out obediently. As soon as she walked to the door, she saw a group of people coming not far away. She pulled her brother to the side and watched politely. The prefect's wife, Mrs. Lan, and a noble lady came in surrounded by everyone. "I come to pay homage to the Marquis." "MRSG, you don't need to be polite, this is..." Zhang Ning's voice came from the door. Lan introduced her warmly, "This is Mrs. Kui Mingsen, the daughter-in-law of Shunda Township, Tongchang Prefecture. Mr. Kui pays homage to the Marquis. The visitor is a guest, no need to be polite, just sit down quickly." Mrs. Kui chuckled, her voice was like a clear spring, "I came uninvited, don't be surprised by the Marquis. In addition to congratulating you today, I mainly want to discuss a business with the Marquis. Not long ago, Yang Sangongzi went to Tongchang Mansion for business, and I happened to taste Zai Laoang and Yuqian wine in Lefang. The taste of these 2 wines was very good, which was different from the popular wine in Tongchang Mansion. I came from San, I bought some from the young master, and the response was very good. I wanted to ask the 3rd young master for wine again, but I didn't expect that the 3rd young master had already left Tongchang Mansion and went to the northwest area. I was helpless, so I found Dongli Villa after asking around a lot. Is there wine in the Marquis house?